What's a happening YouTube? This is John nerding out with cards. And so tonight, what I want to do is kind of just talk about, I don't know, some like hobby collecting kind of stuff. But what kind of sparked this was there was an historic event that occurred today. And that was none other than Nolan Arenado. Here's his rookie card. Hit his 350th home run in game 2 of a doubleheader today. And so what you're like thinking, okay, well, 350 home runs, I mean, that's a good amount, but what makes it historic, right? And so he's the 11th primary third baseman in all of history. You figure the National League, traces back to 1876. And it's now 2025, only the 11th primary third baseman to hit 350 home runs. And I really, really do think that 400 is a realistic goal for him to achieve before he retires. But here's what's even crazier is he's only the seventh Major League Baseball player to achieve 350 home runs while also earning 10 gold gloves in their career, right? And so you're wondering, well, who are the other 6? I'm sure a lot of you can guess who the other 6 players are, but I'll name them anyway. You got Johnny Bench, Mike Schmidt, Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Al Kaline, and Andrew Jones. Well, all of them are in the Hall of Fame except for one, and that's Andrew Jones, who, I mean, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. But either way, and then Schmidt being the only other third baseman that has done it. Kind of crazy. And then his career is not even over. So it's one of those things like, we collect a lot of cards. You think of, the vintage cards, because of all the great players, their stories have been written. Maybe collecting was a simpler time. And so it's like a lot of what the current hobby is, the current product is, just really kind of turns people off. There's so many parallels, there's all this and all that. And I totally understand that. Like, I feel that. I used to collect ultra modern cards of Ozzie Smith, and well, I don't anymore, right? You've heard me talk about it on my channel, right? I collect Ozzie, but I've limited it to his playing days. And why? Because the current product is just crazy. And I just cannot help but being a completionist in a way, super collecting Ozzie. So I had to come up with my own definition. A recent video, Yadier Molina is one of my all-time favorite players, and I want to have him represented in my collection, but I can't do it. It's just, maybe I just overthink it. I don't know. But, so what am I doing? I'm doing the gold run. Okay. And I've heard, like Lou Rock, I've heard Dylan, Double D, talking about how collecting ultra modern is not a hard thing to do. It's just you got to find a lane and, kind of stay in that lane. And that's really what I'm doing with, these players that I collect. So it's like, what if I close myself off to the current hobby, the current products, and things like that? It's like, well, I wouldn't be able to collect some of these players that I just love watching. There's players I love learning about. There's players who I loved watching, but what about players I love watching now? And I want them in my collection. And, before I go any further, it's just like, I'm not telling people how to collect or anything like that. It's just, I'm just kind of talking about like things I think about as I'm collecting cards. So take that for what it's worth. This is just, me talking about cards. Maybe it sparks a thought in your head. Maybe there's players that you love, and you're just but the current hobby is just so confusing, So anyway, Nolan Arenado achieved that historic milestone, right? And like I said, you know, it's, yeah, there's players who are great, were great, things like that. You know, history, very much past tense, but there's history in the making. And so, you know, Nolan's he's that guy for me. Not that he's the only guy. You know, there's plenty of others out there: Otani, Judge, Trout, all those great stuff. But yeah, so yeah, am I Nolan Arenado collection? It is quite small. You know, I'll show off some cards, but and there's more out there that I want. You know, I'll talk about that. And, you know, kind of, you know, this kind of compounds on the Yadier Molina video on, you know, how am I going about collecting a current player. And so, like I said, here's his rookie card, and it's his base rookie card. You know, I don't want the gold, the chrome, the refractor, or anything like that. And biggest reason is this is a link to the past. You know, when there was only base cards or just cards. I don't know. But anyway, so you know, it's like with Ozzy, there's a Topps card. With Willie, there's a Topps card. With Ken Boyer, there's a Topps card. Same thing with Arenado. And because he is definitively one of my top 5 all-time favorite players, especially because I've been getting to watch him play, watch the highlights. I mean, his defense is out of this world. Here's his Topps update, his first Cardinals card. And again, it's the base card. This is, like I said, a link to the past. It's very much, in my mind, the, like, Ozzie Smith's top traded in 82, you know. Now, what have they done in, you know, recent years? I think this has been going back, I don't know, maybe like 10 years or so, but they've been doing like these SPs, SSPs, image variants, and I kind of dig those. But it's like, well, I don't want to get into collecting a lot of those. You know, I do have an Adam Wainwright one, but that's part of my Waino Molina collection. But there's a whole bunch more that I think are really cool, but I'm not going to go after those. The price tag is kind of high. But Arenado. So this is the SSP. There's another one. It's the SP, much cheaper, much easier to find. I just haven't picked it up yet. The back is the same as the base copy. But I thought it'd be something kind of different, right? You know, with Yadi, I'm going after the golds. And I don't want to do the same thing for Arenado, even though his gold glove defense is out of this world. But I just want to do something different. You know, I just don't want to be collecting the same thing of every player, you know. And I've showed a couple of these. This one, when I showed it before, I had the regular one, and I managed to find the gold one. Not an expensive card. People kind of don't like these commemorative cards, but I think it's fun. You know, this one's numbered out of 75 for what that's worth. But why gold? Because of his gold glove defense. You've heard me say that a bunch. And then I've shown this before too, this Home Sweet Home. Again, I just think it's a fun card. This commemorative card. And numbered out of 75. Gold because of his gold glove defense. And, you know, but I got some more base cards. Like what I've done is, you know, his All-Star cards. I like getting those. Although, you know, didn't make the All-Star team last year. And I hope he does this year, of course. You know, here's a base card from the World Baseball Classic where the U.S. made it all the way to the final game. Unfortunately lost. Trout choked, whatever. But, you know, I just think it's a fun way for me to collect. And you see, I don't have a lot of money invested in these cards. I don't have a ton of these cards. Much like with Yachty, it's like, okay, well, what are some other cards I would like to have in my collection for Arenado without going crazy? I do think I want to get like a Stadium Club Gold Minton card, you know, because I have one of Ozzy, have one of Yachty. Okay, I'll get one of Arenado. But kind of going back to this card. Shane at Shoebox Legends has been showing off a lot of those Independence Day cards. And I think I might want to do that for Arenado because, he's played on the U.S. team in the World Baseball Classic, which I love that tournament. Twice now. Once when they won it all, and the second time they made it all the way to the final game. So I think that'd be kind of cool. Again, finding a collection scope for a current player kind of keeps the hobby fun for me. Unfortunately, there's too many cards, not enough money, whatever you want to call it. Because I want to get more Ken Boyer cards. I want to get more Molina Gold cards. I want to get those Independence Day cards. Maybe just the Cardinals years. Maybe all of them. I don't know. But like I said, it was just something I was kind of thinking about because it seems like a lot of times, it's what kind of collector are you? It's like, are you vintage? Are you modern? And there's plenty of examples of people who do both. I think I'm one of them. Shane at Shoebox Legends, Brent Richards at Baseball Cards. He's another one. We've seen Greg, show off modern cards, especially like with the Matt Mannings, his Jeters, Lonely Basement. Like I see a lot of people collecting multiple eras. Steve, Rev Steve's cards. I've seen him show off some modern cards, because of Ricky Henderson and then his Hall of Fame binder, which is super cool. But yeah, it just kind of got me thinking, it's with the modern product, it can just get so confusing, but it doesn't have to be confusing. Topps Gold has been around since 01, the second iteration. And yeah, some of those can get pretty expensive, but not a lot of them, But like I said, I just love watching Nolan Arenado play. Like today's game, for example, he hits that home run, the historic home run. But then in the bottom of the ninth, runner on third, less than 2 outs, a ground ball's hit to him, and bam, guns the guy out at home. Then in the top of the 10th, gets the game-winning hit, or what turned out to be the game-winning hit. It was just like, oh, love watching that guy play. And, getting to watch Scott Rowland play. So we've had some great third basemen, right? And it's like, who's better? Well, I think they're different players. I really do. But, the way that Arenado plays third base, he gets that ball, he is slick. He throws the ball at all arm angles, doesn't plant his feet. It's get the ball, go. And he's, bare hands it like nobody's business. It's just so much fun. And I know I'm kind of just like rambling, but, it's love watching him play, love collecting cards. And yes, the modern product, the modern hobby is what it is. But I don't want to let that deter me from collecting a player that I love watching play. We definitively know that he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, and I'm enjoying it while I can. It's just like when Ozzy retired. It's like when Yachty has retired, or since he's retired. The drop-off is steep. Last thing I'll show off is, people, including myself, let this hang around on Scott's Etsy store for way, way too long. I picked it up, and this one-of-a-kind marker doodle piece of art of a future Hall of Famer who achieved that historic milestone today is in my collection. Like I said, my Arenado collection is not massive. It doesn't have to be massive to be awesome, to be fun. But, like I said, I want to pick up some more cards, and you'll see them as they come along. And I mean, who knows when that'll be. But, is there a player that is currently playing that you love collecting? The Indians, they got Ramirez there at third base. I'm sure Topps 85401, Nate, he'd say Chapman. Chapman's awesome defensive. It's just too bad he came to the National League because there's only one award. You can't split it, right? But Yeah, we'll see who comes away with it this year. But we've seen plenty of YouTubers, they collect Aaron Judge. Like even Red Sox fans are collecting Aaron Judge. That's pretty wild. But of course, there's the big names, the Trout. There's the Otani, like I mentioned before. But like, what are some other players that play today that you love watching play? And like, do you collect their cards, or don't you collect their cards? Like, why? You know, is it because of the products? Is it because there's so many? And how do I get started? There is just blah blah blah, whatever the reason may be. Um, I'd be interested, to know. And like I said, I'm just kind of rambling. But wanted to talk about the historic event, talk about a favorite player, show some cards, kind of some like hobby thinking that goes on in my head. Show off Scott's artwork again because that never gets old. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. Y'all have a good one.